Lanterns Episode 2 gave us a lot more to break down, and I have some theories. Let's do it.
Look! Up in the sky! It's Deadsville Hero Talk!
Greetings, Boo Believers. Deadsville's Ronan James here, and we're talking Lanterns Episode 2 on this episode of Deadsville Hero Talk. If you have not seen the show yet, we are going to get into spoilers. I will give my spoiler-free first take before that, and I'll let you know before I jump into spoilers so you can pause and, go watch the episode, come back and listen. Before I give you my take, if this is the first time you are tuning in, greetings. I am Ronan James. I am stuntman, stunt coordinator, now content creator, director, producer, etc., etc. I have been in tons of TV shows and movies. You've definitely seen me before. I've spent a lot of time doing superhero stuff. I've been in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and got to work for James Gunn. So now I'm reviewing and talking about his show, one of his shows in the DCU, Lanterns. You've also seen me in other things like Gotham. I got to stunt double for the Executioner, the supervillain there. I was on The Punisher on Netflix, got to teach John Bernthal how to do a headbutt. And yeah, I've been on a bunch of things. You have definitely seen me before. A bunch of TV police procedurals and many more. So yes. Now I bring my behind-the-scenes experience and insight in the stunt world and beyond to the horror and hero talk podcast realm. I like to talk horror movies, and I like to talk superhero movies and comic books. So make sure you like, subscribe, follow, ding the bell. Join us on Patreon, where you can listen to the podcasts totally ad-free. And yes, all the social medias. I'm Deadsville Ronan, Deadsville Productions. You can find us everywhere. We're on YouTube and all of the streaming platforms. All right, my quick spoiler-free review of this one. I really enjoyed it. Maybe didn't hit as hard as the first one. It would be kind of hard to top that ending, but I felt that this really moved things along and it really helped kind of establish more of the intrigue that's going on in this show. So yeah, I'm going to go 8.5 out of 10 for this one. I think I gave the first episode a 9, so I'm going to go 8.5 for this one. It's almost as good. It's kind of hard to duplicate that crazy ending that we had in episode 1, though. So yeah, that's my spoiler-free review. I enjoyed the more of this detective story, and I enjoy we actually get to see some more of the actual Green Lantern stuff without giving anything away. We get more into the lore of what James Gunn's DCU Lanterns is made up of. So, and we will talk about the title as well when we get into spoilers, because I have some theories on that too. So, all right. Yeah, that's going to do it. I'm not going to say much more. We're going to get into spoilers because that's why you guys are tuned in. We've all watched the episode. I guarantee I've watched it 2 times already, and I'm going to watch it again probably before the 3rd episode airs, because I like to get my reminders in. But yeah, that's going to do it for the spoiler-free section. 8.5 out of 10. Really love this episode as well. I like the direction of the story. I am intrigued, and I am definitely curious as to how everything's going to play out. But I love the cast. I think Kyle Chandler and Aaron Pierre are doing a outstanding job of bringing these characters to life. So yeah, that's going to do it. I'm going to jump to spoilers now. So if you haven't watched the episode, pause here, go watch the episode, come back and hit play, and yeah, we can talk details, because here it comes. Spoiler.
Holy heads up! It's spoiler time!
All right, Boo Believers, we are back, and spoilers. Let's break down episode 2 of Lanterns. Now, this one is called Trust Fall, and it shifts the series a bit from its grounded murder mystery into deep DC universe cosmic lore by introducing the Manhunters and the live-action debut of Sinestro. Directed by James Hawes, the episode strips Hal Jordan of his Power Rings charge, forcing Jon Stewart to step up while exposing the dark, hidden history of the Guardians of the Universe. And yes, I had a feeling this was kind of the direction we were going to go. This is something that's always been at the core of Green Lantern and Hal Jordan especially. The questioning of the Guardians. So, yeah, I mean, question everything. Always question authority. That's what to take away here. But all right, so this one starts off with Hal throwing a bucket of water on John and them having a little discussion before Hal says, "Hey man, come on, it's time to learn to fly." And he takes him outside into the parking lot and gives him the ring. All right, go ahead and fly. And John's like, "Wait, you got to teach me how to fly." And he's like, I just fly, dude." And it makes sense because Hal is a test pilot. He has been a test pilot forever. So flight to him is like second nature. So when it's time to fly, he probably doesn't really have to give it a whole lot of thought because he's used to being in a jet. If anything, we've seen Hal creates fighter jet constructs in the comic books, plenty. So, that would explain why it was second nature for him to be able to do this. And he doesn't know how to explain it to somebody who's not a pilot, who has never flown, an airplane or anything like that. So Jon Stewart tries to, it was funny. I love the shots of the feet going up and stand back. And then finally he manifests a construct of a green bird. And yeah, that was pretty cool. And I was a little surprised. Hal was even more surprised in the show. So when he saw, because, it's one thing to create an inanimate object from, with your constructs. That's, something that all lanterns can do, giant fly swatter we've seen, giant boxing glove or, whatever, the fighter jets, things like that. But you don't really see Hal conjuring like tigers attacking people and stuff in the comic books. It's always an inanimate object. So when we have Jon Stewart, not only, I mean, he doesn't have a whole lot of experience manifesting constructs anyway with the ring. He doesn't get to use the ring very much, it seems like. So for him to manifest this living creature, yeah, that was a pretty big deal. And Hal kind of holds it in, you can tell, because he doesn't want to give away how big a deal it is. And then he says, "Okay, Junior, give me the ring back." And this was the biggest shocker for any comic book fan who really knows the Green Lantern lore, because this is something that doesn't get explored later in the comics, but this was nowhere near the early days of Jon Stewart. Hal asks for the ring back and John takes the ring off and the construct is still there and still alive. And you can see it blows Hal's mind too, but again, he is not going to give this guy who's trying to take his job the satisfaction of knowing that he's better than him. Like, John already has these crazy abilities because of his willpower and his lack of fear and everything else that he's been brought up to be a lantern. From what we've seen, he's been recruited for this job or raised for this job. And this is why, obviously, because he can do things like this. And Hal doesn't want to admit this. Hal, this is it. This is like the older guy on his way out who doesn't want to give up the job, who's had nothing but the job. And again, that's another thing that I really enjoy about this Hal Jordan. I see a lot of people complain online about, oh, Hal's drinking, he's like grumpy all the time, and that's not the Hal Jordan I know, and he's cocky, and he was always like full, And yes, the young Hal Jordan that we remember from the comics and animations and stuff like that, cocky, test pilot, all that stuff. This is older Hal Jordan. This is old, been on the job for 20 years. You see he has no life. We see that in the next scene, because when John can't fly, Hal sends him on a mission because the ring is almost out of charge, and Hal left the lantern back in Coast City at his house. And, the rookie, the trainee, has to go fly back on a jet commercial, I think it was, has to fly back to Coast City and get the lantern and bring it back. And Hal tells him, and here's your test. Keep that bird alive the whole time you're gone, or else you fail. Don't break your concentration, Junior. And man, I mean, he really does. Like, it's really like, you could, Hal really tries to make him fail and really doesn't want this kid to succeed. But I think, underneath it, he does recognize that, John's potential. And I think he deep down really likes him. I really, even though he sees him as, his adversary trying to take his job, I think he definitely, he likes him. And I think the respect is mutual. John even says in episode 1, he respects him because he's fearless. And yeah, John knows what it takes to do the job because he's been training for it his whole life, apparently. So yeah, I really like this, again, Hal's been on a job so long. He has no life. He has no family. All he lives for is the job. So somebody's trying to take that away from him. What's he going to be without it? And again, doing that kind of job, you see it all the time in cop shows and detective shows where the guy who just he's all about work, eventually gets jaded and kind of bitter, drinking problems, smoking problem, drug problem, something like that. But, I don't see Hal with a drinking problem. He has a couple drinks. That's all. He's an older guy. He knows how to relax. And I like the whole suit tie bit from episode 1. But we will get to some suit in this one. And I'm glad we did because it looked good. But all right, so Jon Stewart is flying back to Coast City. And yeah, Hal tells him to keep the bird alive for 24 hours without the ring. Just through sheer concentration and raw willpower. So Hal goes to do some investigating with John out of the way. And yes, so he goes to look at the bodies in the morgue. And again, this just kind of goes, well, no, I'm sorry. First, Hal goes to talk to the sheriff because as we saw in the court scene, he's going to follow the chain of command. And he kind of likes the sheriff. We know she's a bit of a love interest, even though she's married. We get that sense here. But he goes to talk to the sheriff, and he's driving through town and he's seeing nobody around. And he's like, where the hell is everybody? So he gets out of his car in the center of town and we see a little ring magic floats up to the, 30, 40 feet, looks around a little bit and spots all the cars in the parking lot at the town auditorium, town hall, whatever it is. So, and at that moment, his ring runs out and he drops to the ground. He is out of power completely. So he gets in his car, drives it in reverse all the way down the street because that's what a stunt driver would do. And test pilot, stunt driver, same type of thing. Gotta appreciate that about Hal's character. It's consistent. So he walks in on a meeting and it feels like everybody hushes when he comes in. Oh, are you guys talking about me? And they go on to start talking about, maybe we're talking about whether we should have the football game after the deaths and blah, blah, blah. And then the lawyer guy comes in, starts talking to Hal and disrupting the meeting, and they kick him out. Oh, no, I'm sorry. They try to kick him out. Hal gets a phone call from Jon Stewart and has to go outside and take it. So John's at the house, can't find the key, and notices that it's a mansion. And this is where we get the whole thing of, where Hal lives. And again, this plays off of, and again, this is, writing and show don't tell, that whole thing that I like to talk about. Just did a review for Buddy where I talked about that horror movie where they do a good job of show don't tell. Well, this episode does a good job of show don't tell too. They earlier in another episode, in the first episode, the sheriff calls him lonely. She tells Jon Stewart, oh yeah, he's not fearless, he's lonely. He has nobody. And when we get this part of the episode here in episode 2, where Jon Stewart goes into this giant mansion and Hal's explaining to him that, this guy bought it for me because I saved his life and he felt like I emasculated him. So to make it up for me, he bought me a house. And John's like, oh, well, when are you going to move in? And I was like, what are you talking about? I lived there for 8 years. There's no furniture. There's no nothing. He's like, I got a bed. And he goes, yes, there's a bed. But it just goes to show the extent of Hal's loneliness and how much this guy is literally married to his job of being a cosmic cop. And that's all he does. When he comes home, he has a bed to sleep in. There might have been a TV in the room. There's a coffee table and the box that holds the lantern. So yeah, it's really like a good job of really showing the scope. This giant house. And this isn't from the comics. No, it's not. But it's again, we had young Hal in the comics. Older Hal became Parallax. which means he got super disillusioned with being a hero, so much so he became a villain. So if you follow the comics, you know, older Hal becomes a villain. And, not saying that's where this is going, but you can see the foundation of his loneliness very much laid out here in this giant mansion with nothing in it. And yeah, it's kind of sad. And, John kind of gets that kind of feeling as well. He kind of knows, he sees it, and he said, it's kind of sad. So, all right. So as John's leaving, he's putting the key back underneath. He goes into a quantum realm. There's, what do you call it? James Gunn loves these fucking, the closets that go on forever that are their own quantum realms. So that's where the lantern is stored. But as John pulls it out, we get our first look. And this is, if you're a Green Lantern fan from the comic book, seeing the lantern is really cool. This is like some serious lore. This is an artifact. This is like the artifact besides the ring, the lantern itself. And yeah, great job by the props department. It looks awesome. Really cool. Like the green, almost emerald with the glow inside it. It's like almost like a big egg. And then it's got like gold metal, housing and, like lining around it and design and all. Yeah, just really, really, really cool looking. It has that feeling that it's both very old and not of this world. So yeah, I think they did a really good job with the lantern. Let me know what you think of the lantern in the comments if you are watching on social medias. Yes, or on our Discord if we have it up, or our Patreon, wherever you are. So yes, as John is putting away, he got the lantern. Oh, and he also has a moment with the suit. He goes into the closet. Hal's suits are there. There's so much that happens. Again, really good writing with this because there's so many moments and things that they use to build and to really character development. John walks in before he even finds the lantern. He goes into Hal's big walk-in closet, and there's the Green Lantern suits hanging up. A couple of them are, in casing, and a couple of them are, one of them is out, and he takes the one that's out, holds it up in a mirror in front of him while he's talking to Hal, asking if he should bring a suit back with him. And you can see, man, this is a guy who was a child who was wanted to be a Green Lantern his whole life. And, ever since he was a boy, that's like his aspiration, his goal. And we haven't found out exactly how that all fits together yet. It seems like his dad is, raising him and grooming him to be this hero. So did his dad have contact with the Guardians? We don't know yet, but I have suspicions. But yes, here's this guy who has been training literally his whole life to be a Green Lantern. And now he's standing there with the suit. He's so close. He can his goal is right there. He's like, he gets to see himself. He holds it up in front of himself and see himself in the uniform. And yeah, it's a really cool moment. And yes, Aaron Pierre does a great job again. And if you watch the episode and watch through the credits, they show some of the behind the scenes stuff. Watching him on set, man, he really, really respects the lore and really is like having a ball. Like when he pulls this thing out, you can see he's just very reverent of everything that he's doing right now and that he's getting to play this part that so many people have grown up on, either through comics or cartoons, whatever it was. Jon Stewart is a huge part of the Green Lantern lore and DC lore in general. So this actor, Aaron Pierre really, really seems like he appreciates it. So much like, when John Bernthal, you heard the stories of him going out and buying all the Punisher comic books and really wanting to do the character justice for comic book fans. I get the feeling that Aaron Pierre is the same way. He's really he really wants comic book fans to be happy with his job here as Jon Stewart. And I am. I really, really am enjoying it. I think he's spot on. All right, so yes, as he's putting the key away, though, he gets a bag over his head and wakes up and tased, and he wakes up inside a van, and we have a nice little fight sequence here where he fights the guys in the van, breaks out, runs, but eventually, they get him, and it's really cool. He's running, and the van slides up, and boom. I love how it's a POV. It cuts to, he's running, and the next thing you know, it cuts to his POV. And good job by the editing team, and this might be some VFX work here, but as the van comes up and slides to a stop, you see his reflection in it. You don't see him anymore because it's his POV, but he kind of sees his own reflection in the paint job of the van right before, boom, cuts to black and he's unconscious again. And it's a really good bit with the editing, production, shooting that thing. I guarantee it was like a stunt driver slide up and stop, and they probably digitally put his reflection into the paint in there, kind of laid it in. But it's really good. It's really convincing. It looks like, boom, he's seeing the thing come up and just hit him dead on. It sells very well. So then, yes, he wakes up in we go back to Hal. And now Hal is going to the morgue because, well, first he goes and he goes to the football field, and he's walking around the football field, checking out the blood, checking out the scene of the crime. And as he's walking through the metal detectors, he notices they don't go off, and he's got a belt buckle on that should set the metal detectors off. So he goes to his rental car and from the trunk pulls out a crowbar, which I thought would have been fine to walk through with, but he has to go the extra step and he pries off the grill of the Corolla and carries the grill and the crowbar through and back and forth through the metal detectors, and nothing. They don't go off. So then, he's like, what the hell's going on? So he gets in the car and he goes to the morgue, and he pulls out a dead body, one of the dead aliens, and he puts it into the rental car. He goes back and grabs another couple dead aliens and puts them into the rental car and drives the dead aliens, puts one in the trunk too, drives them to the football field and puts them through the metal detectors. And lo and behold, as he carries the aliens through the metal detectors go off. As he's pulling them backwards through, he falls and sees a little sensor underneath the table attached to the metal detector that is alien tech. And it's just like a little orb with a little glow and deep. And he just knows, yeah, this is tech that is not of this world. So a clue. Dun, dun, dun. And yes, these are, and of course we find out that these are supplied by Macon, the cowboy. He's the one that puts these up. He's the one that, is, as we learned, he's onto the aliens. He suspects an invasion. He has the line, the common interest is protect the earth from those who weren't born here. And I have a theory there. We're going to get there. All right, next. So, yes, while Hal is going back and forth with the aliens in the metal detector, which are now known as, they are alien detectors, we go back to John, who gets the mask pulled off in a warehouse. He's surrounded by a bunch of bald dudes, the guys who abducted him, and a new alien named Anton, played by Paul Ben-Victor. And Anton, he reveals, yeah, we're aliens. There's other aliens there that are those, we can't go to the town because there's other, because of the alien detectors, they'll detect us, but the Manhunter is there. And here's where the big Manhunter reveal comes out. And if you're not familiar, before Green Lanterns, there were Manhunters in the comics, in the comic lore, I should say. Prior to the Guardians of the Universe creating the Green Lantern Corps, they created synthetic police, cosmic police called Manhunters. And of course, Manhunters went rogue. They killed planets full of people. So during this little meeting, John gets imprinted with memories of the Manhunters wiping out an entire planet. And a lot of people are speculating online that these could be the Red Lanterns, possibly this group here that has abducted John, because in the Lore, the leader of the Red Lanterns, was his family, his entire planet, including his wife and child, were killed by the Manhunters. And so they forge a Red Lantern ring through a kind of cosmic mythic ritual. And that's how Red Lanterns are born. So this also kind of plays into the reason why the show is called Lanterns instead of Green Lantern, because it's not just about the Green Lanterns. This show could be establishing the whole spectrum of lanterns, starting with the Red Lanterns here, who are currently looking for revenge on the Manhunter. So, while they're not Red Lanterns yet, these are very powerful aliens, obviously. They have enhanced strength, we've seen. And they tell Jon that the Manhunter was taken into custody by Abin Sur, who is the alien who would crash land on Earth and give Hal Jordan the ring. So apparently, when Abin Sur crash landed on Earth, the Manhunter escaped and went into hiding, and Abin Sur died, and Hal got the ring. And yes, maybe that has something to do with what, if you recall in episode 1, when Hal tells Jon the story of how he got the ring, he says, the alien said something that might have been like good luck or get fucked or something. Might have been something about the Manhunter. Could have said Manhunter or something. I have a feeling we're going to get more on that meeting at some point in this series. All right. So yes, Hal has been investigating the aliens while this is going on. So he's driving back through town with the aliens' dead bodies in the car, and he gets pulled over by the sheriff, of course. And it's a really fun scene. Again, we get some flirting with Hal and the sheriff. And yeah, the sheriff really just finally comes clean and says, look, man, just please stop busting my balls. Please stop going around me. Every time you do something that I ask you not to do, or you don't listen to me, or you go in head first without letting me help you handle it, you fuck things up for me and you make it look like Macon runs this town. And that's not a good look. So, Hal gets humble here for a minute. He realizes, too, that he's been giving this sheriff a hard time, and he likes her. He obviously likes her, especially when she says that she's got a rocky marriage. Your marriage is right. He really perks up for that one. So, yeah, he apologizes and says, look, I'll let you take the lead. So he says. So they return the dead bodies, and now they're going to, well, no, they don't return dead bodies. They're going to go talk to Macon about the dead bodies. He wants to storm the compound, and she's like, please let me handle it. We will go, and we will, I'll talk to him. So that's their plan next. They're going to go to talk to Macon about these aliens and the technology found on the metal detectors, the alien detectors at the football game. So we have that. They get to the compound, and, well, Jon has kind of agreed to kind of look for the Manhunter. These aliens give him a phone, a burner phone. Contact us when you figure out who it is. It could be anybody. They could take the shape and then yada yada. We already know. Not only is there 14 alien species that can mimic humans, but Manhunters can also perfectly mimic a human. So again, something to think about with that ending as well. Aliens and Manhunters can all mimic a human body. So the ending of episode 1 I'm talking about, where we find a dead Hal Jordan with no ring, and the ring is not gone to Jon Stewart. So, yes, things to think about. All right, so Hal goes to the compound. Of course, he doesn't let her do the talking. He gets obnoxious. Macon warns him, you're not coming onto the compound. I can't tell you stuff. Hal's like, look, you shouldn't have this tech. This is beyond you. And we're getting hints here again. Macon wanted to play nice, but now it's turning into a bit of a pissing contest, and Macon has some stuff like he wants Hal to just go away now. And here's where I'm gonna go into some reckless speculation, because when Hal walks on, you're gonna have to deal with me. Hal gets shot. He has a sniper, shoot him in the shoulder, and take Hal out. Just graze him, give him the warning shot. So Hal wakes up in the hospital. And yeah, can't believe I was shot. He's used to the ring working, but he has no power. You would think the ring would protect him, but it's the juice is gone. So he takes a bullet in the shoulder. He wakes up. The the chief, the police, the sheriff is there, and she, you know, kind of fills him in and also tells him that in his sleep, he's talking about Sinestro. She asks who Sinestro was and why you know that name. And he tries to be like, oh, you don't know, blah, blah, blah. And she Googles Sinestro. And there's like a Wikipedia page, obviously, for Hal. And yeah, there's Sinestro lore that she finds out. And we learn that Hal was trained by Sinestro. Sinestro went bad. Sinestro killed a guardian. And Hal had to be the one to bring Sinestro in. So a lot to take in there. Very much like, Hal is the mentor to Jon Stewart, while Sinestro was the mentor to Hal. And, I guarantee you there were similar things going on with how Hal is here trying to, instill this don't just blindly follow orders mentality into Jon. I guarantee you that Sinestro put a little bit of that into Hal's head too, and, had him questioning the Guardians as well. And, maybe Hal started to question the Guardians back when his mentor went bad, quote unquote, and started questioning them. So either way, we get this whole kind of rebel feel to Hal, and he's trying to instill that kind of questioning of authority into Jon Stewart, because Jon is definitely a good soldier. He is going to follow orders. He's going to follow the chain of command. He's going to do the good soldier thing. And that's really what, again, I think Hal likes Jon, but I think Hal recognizes this, and he doesn't want him to just blindly follow orders. He wants him to, don't be a good soldier, be a hero. Be a genuine hero, not just following orders. Sometimes the higher ups might give you bad orders. Question it. So you see where it's going, and now we're going to get a taste of that, because he's very sensitive about the Sinestro subject. Obviously, when the sheriff brings it up, he's very sensitive about Sinestro, and he goes to get up and realizes that he's handcuffed and is being jailed again for trespassing, because he trespassed onto Macon's property and Macon pressed charges. So Jon finally returns and bails Hal out. He delivers the battery, shows him that he brought the suit, and he relays Anton's warning about the Manhunters. And he says, look, they told me not to warn you, but again, chain of command, he trusts, Hal's his superior, so he goes right to him and tells him. Double-edged sword. I'll bet Hal appreciated the, telling him about it. But again, he was probably like, again, here's Junior just being the good soldier. And he says to him, did you tell the Guardians? What'd you tell the Guardians? And Jon he doesn't have any contact with the Guardians. But also at this time when Jon returns, Hal notices that the bird is still alive. His construct is still there. And Hal says to him, when he tells him the Guardians about the Manhunter stuff and how the Manhunter is hiding and how these aliens came to him and why they don't trust Hal, or how they don't trust Hal. They only trust, Jon to do this. All right. So also at this time, Jon has returned and the construct is still alive. And he says, while also telling Hal about what the aliens told him about the Manhunter, the aliens also told him that him being able to make a construct with no ring and have it travel with him to Coast City without, just by his force of will, is just something so unimaginably advanced. It's like unheard of. And that couldn't possibly be true, because if it was, Hal would have at least given him a hoorah. At least given him a guy, at least kind of giving him a heads up that this was a big deal that Jon just did this, told him he did a good job, giving him some kind of bone that he was actually making progress. And Hal didn't do that. But he does say hoorah right now, kind of unimpressed. But you can tell, it's eating away at him. He tries to play it off, but it's eating away at him. And he has to ask him, hey, Junior, why a bird? I got to ask you, why a bird? And Jon says, no reason. and just crushes the bird right in front of him and walks away. And yeah, I mean, I think the reason is because Jon was thinking flight, fly, be free, kind of, and that's why a bird manifests itself. But there's probably other meanings in there too. Him wanting to be free of Hal's mentoring could be one of the reasons there was a bird flying free of being shackled to Hal. Could be one of the reasons he manifests a bird in his construct. So Hal takes the ring and charges it quickly, grabs the battery, the lantern, charges the ring, says the oath really fast. Another sign either he's kind of embarrassed to say it in front of Jon, or maybe the oath, again, because he questions the Guardians so much. And again, there's been times where he's told him, I'm not contacting Guardians. I'm training you, Junior. I'm not reporting back to the Guardians. This is my sector. I'm handling my business. So that, yeah, there is this whole, he does not trust the Guardians. You definitely can see this. And, when Jon goes to bed, Hal breaks out the suit, puts it on, and goes out and takes off into the stars. And this is our first, cosmic venture here. We finally get a trip into space, and, we get a look at another planet. And as he's flying over, it looks kind of icy, maybe, a big crack, but obviously some kind of prison world. We will come to find out, it's very kind of that pale blue and very sterile environment. So, he's walking through, we get some cool architecture and stuff. And finally he comes to a cell and opens it, and we get our first look at Sinestro. And yeah, it's a pink guy with a mustache. Just looks like Sinestro. But he asks him, hey, what the fuck do you know about Manhunters? And Sinestro says, well, if there's one still alive, then that would be your second biggest threat. Hal Jordan, why don't you tell me about Jon Stewart? Hinting that Jon Stewart is the first biggest threat to Hal Jordan. So, interesting stuff here. The mentor to Hal telling Hal that Jon is his biggest threat. How fitting, considering Sinestro sitting in a jail cell right now, talking to his previous trainee. Looks like Hal was Sinestro's biggest threat because he put Sinestro away. So funny, it's that whole kind of mentor, apprentice, eventually taking over kind of workplace theme going on here. So yeah, good ending. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed, everything. Again, we had some good humor in here, some good pieces falling into place. And yeah, the detective story still coming together, and I'm really enjoying how they are making the pieces come together. Because I have a lot of theories. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm going to give a big one in a second. Obviously we have the Manhunter at play now. There is the question of who is the Manhunter? He or she is passing as human, and we have a lot of human characters in the town. Another thing I want to point out, when Hal wakes up in the hospital and he's leaving the hospital and he's walking through the hospital with the sheriff when they're leaving, not only do we find out that she used to work in Gotham, she's not from the town originally. She's from Gotham and transferred there, quote unquote, on a whim. And we'll find out more about that, I'm sure. But we also notice that there's nobody else in the hospital. There's nothing there. And Hal even comments where is everybody? There's nobody in the hospital. Oh, nobody gets sick. It's a small town. Yeah, but the equipment doesn't, half of it looks like it's fresh out of the box. And yeah, it's quite odd that there's nobody in the hospital, not a lot of people on the streets when he's driving earlier. Everybody's at the town meeting. Does everybody go to the town meeting? Yeah, it's very, very sus. And it has me thinking, I'm wondering, aside from our Manhunter, now we know that there's a faction of aliens who have been trying to infiltrate the town, and they got shot and this and that, and, at the football game. There's multiple species of alien. Could we have some aliens, like a multi-alien invasion kind of going on here? Because something struck me when Macon said that line about having the common interest with Hal in episode 1, where we both, how about this? We both want the best for whoever was born on the planet. We want to protect the planet from people that weren't born here. The colonization thing. We could have some aliens who were born here. Macon could have been an alien who was born here. So he feels like this is his land and this is his, and he could have this whole town of aliens that were born here. Humanoid aliens, look human, passes human, all that were born here, that are slowly that are trying, maybe they're outcasts from another world that was destroyed by Manhunters, or maybe they're just looking to populate or live in peace somewhere, maybe not colonize, just have their peaceful little town here on Earth. And they are the ones that are seeing these other aliens. Are they the good aliens in Rushville that have been here already and live here? And the bad aliens are coming in, and that's who they're trying to fight off? Again, we could have... we're opening up so many possibilities here. The Manhunter is one thing, but there's in the DC universe, there are so many different alien species. Martians aren't even that far away, and they are shapeshifters, and there are good Martians and bad Martians. There's so many possibilities with where this could be going, with who the Manhunter could be. I'm really curious as to that. And there's also some speculation online that Macon might be the first Black Lantern. So, yeah, there's a lot of things happening, and a lot of speculation, a lot of fan theories out there. But yeah, we've got the Manhunters at play. We've got aliens in Rushville, and we've got alien tech. That could also explain how Macon has this alien tech that he shouldn't have. Hal has said, this doesn't belong here. You shouldn't have this. Who's your benefactor? Because Macon keeps referring to this NDA, and he can't say who his benefactor is, who owns the house, who gives him his tech, who funds his militia. And if you've seen some of the trailers and some of the things for what's going to happen, some of the previews for the rest of the season, we do see some more advanced weaponry being held on the compound. So we also see in our 2026 flash forward at the end of season 1 that the compound is destroyed. So very interesting stuff there as well. As Jon Stewart drove in to meet the sheriff at the football field, we saw that compound leveled. He even notices. He makes note as he drives past it, looks at it, everything. So yeah, this could be a multi-alien invasion, and you have the Manhunter here on the loose as well. So yeah, some good stuff happening here in Lanterns. And again, this alien faction could be the makings of the Red Lanterns. This is why this isn't called Green Lantern. Another thing we want to talk about, I guess, there's a phone call that takes place with the sheriff where she's talking to somebody who is a connection back in Gotham. There is some speculation online that is Barbara Gordon. We don't know yet, but maybe we find out. It would stand to reason that if this sheriff was on the GCPD in Gotham when she was there before she moved to Rushville, that she would know Barbara Gordon. She would know Commissioner Gordon. Even if he wasn't commissioner at the time, maybe he was working his way up. She would know Jim Gordon. She would know Barbara Gordon. So it wouldn't be crazy to think that that's who she was on the phone with. All right, what do you guys think? There's a lot of fan theories out there. I really love this episode. Again, 8.5 out of 10. I thought that the pieces were all coming together again, but we're getting some answers. We're getting some more answers in the lore, but it's also giving us more questions. Do we have two different sets of aliens invading here? And who the fuck is the Manhunter? What do you think? Who is it? Who could the Manhunter be? I think it'd be crazy if it wound up being the grandma who smashed cheeks with Jon Stewart. If she's the Manhunter, I'm going to lose my shit. That's all I'm saying. Jon Stewart smashed Manhunter cheeks. That would be some crazy writing. But stranger things have happened, I guess. All right, that's going to do it, Boo Believers. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know your fan theories. What do you think is happening here? Who do you think is the Manhunter? And would you smash Granny Manhunter cheeks like Jon Stewart? Let me know in the comments. That's going to do it. Until next time, stay super.